Hello and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Lines. Haven't done an episode in a while, but today we are joined with Turner Wise again. Once again, thanks for joining us, Turner.
Yeah, no problem. Nice to talk with you today.
Hey, that's what I do. So, first question. How did you get into Line Rider?
So I'm a part of a music teachers group on Facebook, and they posted Line Rider, and I'd seen it before, but I'm like, I want to try this. So I just got on and put a track in there, and away.
You cut out for a second there. What was that last part?
Oh, I just said I downloaded it and tried it out for myself, and away I went.
So, what was how did you come across Line Rider? What was the first track you saw?
I think it was Hall of the Mountain King.
Probably, yeah.
But I could be wrong.
So, are you saying you came across the application first and you just got into it, or you actually just saw like stuff like Mountain King or some of Rabbit Squirrel's tracks like Celia, and you just like got the bug?
I got the bug after Mountain King and Celie, basically. But Celie was more of I had already been down the Line Rider rabbit trail. But Hall of the Mountain King is what's being posted, by non-Line Riders, out in the world.
Yeah, it's all over Facebook. It's crazy. Yeah, so would you view some of these early track makers that you saw as your inspirations? I mean, we talked earlier in Come Alive that kind of definitely draws some inspiration from, I would say, Celia and Mountain King.
Yeah, it does, but to me, Line Rider is like just an avenue to show and tell a story, And personally, as a music teacher, I like music, I like art, I love the game, and so it's just like this perfect storm of everything that I like into one thing.
Yeah, it's an amazing application. It's been around for well over a decade now. It's awesome. So, would you say just like the music and also the fact that you can, like translate this to your kids? I mean, we should say, if we haven't before, Turner, you're a music teacher, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So,
we're actually the last 3 weeks in class, we've been using Line Rider. I have like 30 students all sitting on Line Rider making crash courses and all sorts of random stuff.
That's great, man. I wish my music teachers were showing me some Line Rider stuff back in the day. That would have been pretty cool.
Sweet. I'm really, dude. I'm enthralled by this stuff. Like, I talked with my administration about doing a Line Rider elective in the middle school. So next year, I'm wanting to do like an actual full-on like music and Line Rider elective.
So for those of us in Europe and elsewhere, what's an elective?
Elective. Okay, so you have your core classes, which like everybody has to take, and then students in a lot of schools have like a few electives that they're allowed to choose what course that they would, whether it's band or choir or art or drama. Like they're the special extra stuff that kids.
And so you're proposing to run an actual like Line Rider class, or Line Rider music-based class?
It would be a music-based Line Rider class.
That's awesome. God, I hope Boss Jan sees this. This is cool. I can't believe we got to the point where there's going to be a Line Rider-based music class. That is so awesome. I'm kind of floored, to be honest.
It's pretty fun. Like, well, we have a big push here in the U.S. I don't know if it's in the U.K., but it's called STEAM. It's like science, math, all this stuff, like the acronym is, science, technology, music, or math, art. And so it's like the big thing is to push multiple subject areas into one. And I feel like Line Rider is like a perfect storm of STEAM, because you could totally incorporate physics and mathematics into Line Rider if you wanted.
Oh yeah, and people do. There's actually, yeah, like one of the videos on Line Rider that got quite a lot of views. Now that I think about it, was one on the Line Rider physics and Newtonian mechanics, I believe, by OTDE. So yeah, you can definitely you can use Line Rider for a variety of projects. Although, I mean, as you will get more into Line Rider, you tend to learn that the physics of Line Rider are somewhat broken. But yeah,
Just you can understand the physics and then you can break the game.
yeah, yeah. I guess it's a bit like it's kind of like you know the rules, but it's like that scene in the Matrix where they're like, yeah, some rules can be broken and some can be bent, and you can bend them pretty far. But yeah, to move on a little bit, what's your approach to making a track?
I think it's important to, one, understand what the composer of the piece intended for that music to portray. And you are basically illustrating the story that the composer is trying to convey. It wouldn't make sense, like, I'm thinking about doing a collab with another YouTuber, and it's this piece where the composer actually is talking about other worlds. And so it wouldn't make sense to do like a Western theme, even though the music kind of sounds like a futuristic Western. It wouldn't make sense just to do solely Western themed, because he's talking about like other worlds. So it's like you take what the composer is wanting, you take what you hear in the music and feel in the music.
Yeah, totally.
And you just kind of roll with it that way. I think every song tells a story, and it's, as an artist, it's your job to kind of share that story.
Yeah, yeah. That's sentiments you share with many in the community. A lot of what we do is tied to the music or a certain theme or a certain style. And some people just want to push the boundaries of the physics, and just because, well, you can, and that's also fun. But yeah, I mean, I guess we've kind of talked about themes and stuff in the tracks you've already made, but in general, like what kind of styles do you tend to lean towards when you think about Line Rider and music?
I don't have one particular genre of music that I adhere to. Like,
Yeah.
I can, with, I mean, I have a bachelor's degree in music education, and a lot of it has to do with like understanding. It's actually called ethnomusicology, understanding music from different world cultures.
Mm.
So not judging a piece of music based on my personal preferences, but judge a piece of music based on the quality of the artist.
Oh yeah, sure. So what's your goal with Line Rider? Like, obviously you've gotten into it recently. You've made a couple of tracks which I'm pretty sure will become quite popular quite soon. So what would you say your goal is long term? Do you just want to like grow as a content creator? Do you have a particular message you would like to give out?
I'm honestly just floored that people are even watching. Like, I I've always loved YouTube, and I actually watch more YouTube than I do like regular TV.
Oh yeah,
And
same.
so it's, to me, it's amazing that people can put out content. And there's a lot of bad content that's out there. It's not.
Yeah, Yeah, let's be honest. I mean, trash TV exists, YouTube trash exists.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, YouTube can be oversaturated, but I think my goal is just to not put out trash. Like, if you're gonna watch something from me, I don't want to put trash out there. I'm gonna, do my best to put something that I would enjoy watching, that my
Yeah.
students would enjoy watching, that my kids would enjoy watching, that, adults would enjoy watching. That's
Mm. Yeah.
just people, like, as a musician, my goal as a musician is not just to play for myself. I obviously there's a sense of performing, but you got to make stuff that people want to watch, and that's fun when you get people that enjoy what you're doing.
Mm.
There's a great sense of satisfaction.
Oh yeah, totally. So, as a performer, then, would you say that you don't just make tracks for yourself, but you're also like really very, very conscious of the effect on the audience?
I would say that 90% of my mental energy goes into what does it look like for the audience.
Oh yeah, yeah, fair enough. So, yeah, switching topics slightly. I don't know how many Line Rider tracks you've seen or how much you've delved into it, but what do you think about Line Rider tracks today? Or should I say track making, like the way tracks are being made?
I think there's good track laying and then there's poor track laying. I think it's just like anything. There's like, okay, there's hundreds of instruments out there. There's hundreds of musicians out there. There's people that put out crap, and there's people that put out good stuff. And that's kind of like Line Rider. I think there's some people that have like a standard for what they release as a content, and then there's some people that just put stuff out there just to put it out.
Yeah.
But that's like for anything, right? That's like,
oh yeah, yeah,
but it doesn't really matter. Like, YouTube is awesome because it's like, if someone enjoys just like throwing something together and putting it out there, and that's what helps them have fun, then who am I to say
more power to them.
don't do that?
Yeah, that's the thing about Line Rider. It's just a sandbox game. People can make of that whatever they will at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that there's definitely like a difference between like someone putting out playing Line Rider and someone putting out something that has substance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. That's a battle that I think many people who create and share tracks struggle with. Because on the one hand, there are people that will just release something. And sometimes I think people expect much more of a response than they actually get. And there's definitely a balance between making something and perhaps wanting recognition for it, but also making something and thinking, well, realistically, how does this translate to 90% of the people that are actually going to watch it? So
Yeah, I don't, but I go into it not even thinking anybody's gonna watch it. Like, I'm just some schmuck, on some
mm,
computer, and I'm gonna put out something that people I think are going to enjoy, and I have no expectation of the response that I'm gonna get.
well,
That's kind of
yeah.
how I go about it.
You'd be surprised. I mean, in the wake of tracks like Mountain King, for example, it's definitely possible to game the algorithm somewhat. That's been a recorded effect. So, but I mean, yeah, man. I mean, if you make a popular song, for example, and you do it really well, like, don't be surprised if you go viral. Like that happens. Like, there are many content creators with tracks with six-figure view counts. Like, it happens. But,
Yeah, I think that you could totally get into a rat race and burn out.
yeah,
If
many
you're
people
trying,
do.
yeah, if you're just chasing being viral, like that's a really dangerous outlook.
It's a very short road, and it only ends in either burnout or success. But the chances of success are pretty slim. And then you get into that whole debate where it's like, do I go into this making things that I enjoy, that I want to present to people, or do I just make things that other people will enjoy and gain no enjoyment myself? And as soon as it becomes a job, then that's where a lot of people burn out, like you say.
Yeah, it's like I just want to put out stuff that I enjoy creating and that I think people are gonna subscribe. And that's like I was watching a YouTuber talk about YouTube, and he's like, don't trade subs, because if you trade subs, those people aren't going to interact with your content. But if you put out content that's like super quality content and you don't push subs, your first 100 subs are going to be like the most loyal.
Mm. Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's kind of where I'm at on my channel. Is just like put out. You don't have to put out a ton of content. Just put out enough content to keep people really interested, and make sure that the quality on your content each time you put something out is something that you would want to watch, something that even like in my mind, I think I want to put something out that even non-liners are going to enjoy.
Mm. Non-liners. I'll have to remember that. That's now a technical term.
Oh, what is the I see. I'm a newbie. I'm like 3.5 weeks into this thing. I don't think what's the technical term.
I don't think we have a technical term for that. I think that could be a technical term now. Non-liners.
A non-liner.
Lineys
a non-liner or liney. Yeah, I don't know. That's to me. That's someone who doesn't play the game, but if they stumble on your content, they're gonna enjoy it.
All those.
That's
normies.
what like 98% of people that watch Hall of the Mountain King are.
Yeah, it's just like people on Facebook that it gets shared to, and just like, oh, that was cool, I'll share it along, kind of thing. Which which is fine. I mean, yeah, I think Mountain King probably has the most traffic of any Line Rider track now. It surpassed Jagged Peak Adventure, which was the previous title holder. It's crazy.
Right, but I mean, it's still like there are other titles like Bohemian Rhapsody that's growing in popularity.
Oglen, like only released that I think in March, if I remember rightly. Yeah, I think he released that about halfway through March, and it's already on like well over 300k views, which is just crazy. So
yeah, and anyway.
Yeah. If you're watching this, Oglen, you got your big break, man. You deserve that, buddy. That guy grinded, and he got rewarded. So
and he's super, and it's not one of those guys that he grinds and he doesn't give back. Like that guy is always helping me out. Like in the last 3.5 weeks, that guy is always helping me out.
Yeah, that's the kind of community spirit we try to promote here. When I first got into the community, people helped me, and I made it, a mission to help them in return. And it seems that spirit has spread. So it's always good to hear. So
the thing about it is if someone comes down the Line Rider rabbit hole and they stumble on my content because of someone else's content, it's like it's in all of our best interest to produce good content as a community, because if we are producing good content as a community, then they're going to go down that rabbit hole, and it's more likely that they're going to stumble on my channel.
We all ride the kind of I guess we all ride on the kind of trail code of success, for sure. And so big content creators, Diddle Chaos, Rabbit Squirrel, now Arglen. There's definitely a trickle-down effect for the rest of us guys, which is awesome. So, moving on, I would ask, how much do you put into a track? Like, and not just time-wise, I mean, also, like emotionally, like how much do you get like drained from making a track? Because I mean, this is go on.
Yeah, I get to 80% done, and that's when the grind hits. And what I like to do is, because I can play or create um, during some of my breaks at work, because I feel like, being that we're doing line rider in school, I feel like it's part of my it can be part of my job, but it like, I love what I do. And so um, like, if I have a 15-minute break or something to be prepping, I don't mind putting that into line rider, because I'm going to end up showing it to my kids, because they're eating it up. Like, they love it.
Mm.
Like, they can't, like, every time I walk in and I got to do something, they're like asking to do line rider. So it's awesome. So, like, for me, what I try to do is, so my kids go down at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then uh, I'm creating from like 8 o'clock to like midnight.
Mm.
And what I try to do is get the big projects done, where I need to, like, that's when my syncing happens.
Oh yeah.
Like, when I can really, like, put my headphones on and not worry about anything else. I love you too, girl. Like, right now would not be a good time to
Yeah.
be syncing tracks.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So like, that's when I like sync the music, is like in the evenings. But then what I'll do is I'll rough draw, like, if I'm, for instance, my next track has like these gears in it,
Mm.
and like, I'll draw like a rough circle for each of where I want to place the gears. And then when I go to work and I have like 15 minutes, I'll knock out like 2 or 3 gears. Does that make sense? Because I can do that without listening, and I can just
Yeah,
like,
it's just yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, a teacher is a busy job. If I guess you're not in your first year of teaching, but I mean, still, you guys work around the clock, so it's impressive that you have the time to be pumping these tracks out the way that you do. Um, yeah, so one of the things I was also going to ask is, where do you see Line Rider going? And one of the reasons I did decide to ask this question is because of this Line Rider elective class that you mentioned earlier. I mean, you're using it already in school to teach kids. I mean, do you see that like going forward as possibly a tool that might spread in education, or do you just see it more as a kind of niche thing that people just like to watch?
I think um, it depends on the direction of education. Um, you're asking me to predict education trends, and education always tends to lag.
Okay, let me rephrase this. Where would you like to see it go?
Personally, I like to see education go in the direction of STEAM, and like, for real STEAM, um, not like this fake. I don't know. Like, kids are burning out, and education can suck, like,
Mm.
hardcore. And like, you have so many kids that just hate school. But if you can incorporate stuff like Line Rider, like Minecraft, like all these things that kids enjoy, like,
Yeah.
but the problem is that you have all these teachers that are academic,
Yeah.
and they don't want to think outside the box,
And there's a huge generational gap. They have no idea. Like, a lot of teachers barely know even how to use a computer. They can't even turn on a projector, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's broken and it's not even plugged in." Like, like that's how it is often in the UK, at least. I mean, you're from quite a different generation in a way that you even you're into gaming yourself, so you're able to kind of bring that you'll be able to kind of cross that boundary, so to speak.
if I can get if I can get a kid to enjoy something so much that he wants to watch it and show his family at home, then I need to be using that. Because when kids are voluntarily looking at stuff that they're learning at school. Like, that's awesome.
Mm, yeah, totally behind that.
Versus, oh, I got to do my homework.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I know as a young kid, I mean, all I did in my breaks and when I got home was play Line Rider. So if Line Rider was my homework, I would have been like an A-star student probably. So like, man, I mean, it kind of like it's an awesome thing that teaching can be kind of brought around to kind of actually go like, oh well, okay, so what do all these kids care about? How can we bring education into that? I think that's just awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of educators and parents, at least here, view gaming as like this super big negative. Or they spend all their time doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, if they're spending all of their time doing it, then figure out how to use it because they clearly like it.
Yeah, I mean, I always find that kind of hypocritical personally. It's like, oh, you're spending all your time gaming, and it's like, well, what do you spend all your time doing? Like sitting in front of the TV? Well, great,
Yeah,
you're so much better than
it's
me.
like this idea, like when people criticize esports, it just kind of makes me chuckle because it's like, okay, I actually play the game that I'm watching the esports, right?
Mm,
Do you play football? Have you ever
yeah,
watched football? Or do you, I mean, you watch football regularly. Have you
yeah,
ever played football?
yeah, exactly. It's the
And they're like,
same.
no. And I'm like,
Yeah,
so you're watching someone play a game that you've never played, and you're criticizing someone who actively plays a game and watches other people play.
oh god, yeah. I mean, you get the whole. It's like that saying with the armchair quarterback. Like you get the same thing. Like for anything that becomes a sport out there, there's always going to be people who just sit there and criticize. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, I mean, people can say gaming's this huge negative, but I mean, these esports stars or just people who are good at games, Twitch streamers, they get paid like they're probably like the biggest earners. Well, at least on in terms of the internet, they're like massive earners. Really, it's crazy, and a lot of these people are earning far more than professional athletes are. So I mean,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
on the other hand, if gaming is going to be made like a relevant thing for students,
mm,
you can't just say, um, well, well, look at esports because that's what 0.011 percent of the people that actually play. It's
oh
like
yeah,
that'd be like,
mm.
well, why are sports good for you? Well, look at professional athletes and what they make,
Yeah,
right?
like a professional
It's like,
athlete is so
like,
unrelatable to like the average person. It's not even
yeah,
funny. Yeah,
but why do you exercise? Because it's healthy for you,
yeah,
right?
because it's
Well,
fun.
why do we play video games? Well, it depends on what video game you play. There are games that are out there that are super healthy for you, and then there's games I played in college that you know
Mm.
uh, ended up with a terrible GPA. You know what I mean? There are definitely like games that expand your creativity, like Line Rider, and other
Mm.
games that just don't.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So to conclude, I guess I always normally ask the same question. So, what would you say to? I mean, you're a pretty new person yourself, but to anyone watching this, what would you say is like a new person who's just getting involved with Blind Rider?
Um, Bring your own personal style to it, and you can be inspired by other people, but don't get locked into what other people are doing.
Yeah, I'm so
Like,
behind that. Yeah.
like get into Line Rider and try and figure out the tools. And the more tools you have, like the more creative you can be.
Yep.
That's what I've kind of discovered in the last month is, um, and you'll probably be able to see it over the evolution of the first 4 or 5 tracks I end up making.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Zoom is a big thing. Like with my new track, I actually learned how to do trigger tracks, and like, so I have this like accordion in this track, and like when the accordion goes in, it like zooms in, and then when it's like coming out, the accordion actually like spreads out and the zoom spreads out as well. So it's like another level of like syncing. It's like not just syncing with
Mm.
what you're seeing, it's syncing with like how like you literally feel zooming out.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's
It's
awesome.
like little tools like that. And maybe it might not be portrayed that way, or people may not even realize that it's like we just did track talk, and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that's what
Yeah.
that was. But like that's kind of the fun part of line writer when you're creating is find something that you like and put stuff that you enjoy into your track. And even if no one else picks up on it, like you can be you like when you watch it back, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that was what that meant, or that's what this was, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Totally, dude. And yeah, speaking of tools, anyone interested in learning more about line writer tools or techniques, or just you very efficient ways of making things, feel free to head to the tutorials playlist on this channel and go and get woke. And yeah, I think we'll probably conclude this episode of Behind the Lines here. Thanks, Turner, for joining us. This has been a great interview, my dude. So thanks for that.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. I've had a lot of fun with line writer, and I really appreciate the community. And I can't believe I'm like 3.5 weeks and already like being asked to have discussions about it. That's crazy to me. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Hey, anytime, dude, anytime. And yeah, that'll take us out for this episode. Thanks to all you watching. If you like this, leave a like, leave a comment, share the video. And yeah, we'll see you in the comments below or on the Discord, which you can also find in the description or pinned comments. All right, thanks, guys. See you next time.